Hello, friends, and welcome to Hold My Banner. If you love this show, first of all, gracias. Secondly, check out Foxborough Rush, available on Nessun as well. George Malecki and I get you ready for the Patriots draft, just days away. Check it out. Foxborough Rush is available on Apple, Spotify, Amazon, YouTube, and wherever else you get all your podcast needs. All right, now, time to hold my banner. That's right, Travis Thomas here with the walking, talking, triple-double, Ante Campbell, and Ante, pump up your sneaks, bruh. We got Dee Brown today.
Yes, sir. So let's get straight into the episode. Let's talk about Magic versus Celtics.
Here we go. Round one in the quest for Banner 19. All right, look, I don't want to be anticlimactic here. I like the Magic. I love Paolo. He got that dog. But they're limited offensively. Tough team. Very good defensively. I'll give them a game. I think they win a game here. I'll go Celtics in 5.
You're a lot nicer than
You're going to sweep. I don't think they're going to sweep them.
I don't think we're getting back to Boston.
No kidding.
I don't think we're getting back to Boston. Look, here's the way I feel about it. First of all, Corey Joseph is starting in 2025. That's insane. That's insane, one.
Why are you doing like that, bro?
The Anthonys, Cole and Black, had a monstrous game in that play-in game.
Why are you coming in so hot?
Bro, because like,
why are you so aggressive?
No, because like I'm tired of hearing people telling me that the Magic have a chance and this is upset alert and all this other stuff.
Nah, yeah, they're drunk.
Now, bulletin board material for the Celtics.
Yes.
They're hearing all of this noise too.
Yeah.
And they're saying, oh, okay, you guys think that you're going to win a game?
Yeah.
I guess this ain't the Atlanta Hawks. This ain't Trae Young running around with it like a chicken with his head cut off. This is the championship Boston Celtics.
Facts.
Franz Wagner shoots under 30% from 3 the last 2 seasons. And that's their second best player. It's the playoffs. You're going to have to make shots. No Jalen Suggs. No Mo Wagner. Cole Anthony and Anthony Black will not do what they did to the Atlanta Hawks. This is Boston.
It is.
Championship easy.
Yes.
4-0. We're getting out of there.
4-0. Bro, how about the Magic fans chanting, "We want Boston"?
Didn't they learn from last year?
I know.
Everybody did that. And they guess what? They got Boston. And guess what?
Yeah.
Boston lost 3 games all playoffs. Smacked up.
Smack!
So for them to come in not healthy with their second best player who can't make a shot for some reason over the last 2 years of his career, I don't know what happened to him.
I don't either.
And banking on Anthony Black and Cole Anthony to help them and Corey Joseph starting in 2025, it's over for these dudes, man. Already. 4-0.
Man, you're making me want to change my vote. I like this Magic team, as you know. And I made a ton of money betting on them last season. And then I thought this season they had injuries, but also I don't know if they really dealt with expectations well. And that happens to young teams. That's why I give a lot of props to the Thunder. But look, you make a lot of great points, man. Obviously, if the Celtics sweep them, I'm not going to be shocked.
No, not shocked. If it goes 5, I wouldn't be shocked.
And
you
to
know
be
what
fair,
I'm saying?
Fair. But I think a lot of it, for me, to be honest, is the love for Paolo. I absolutely love Paolo Banchero.
Yeah.
I think he's a star. And I think the Magic are also building something. And I think maybe next season and seasons beyond, they'll be a little more battle-tested. A couple playoff runs now they can learn from, but that's not the time now.
No.
And to your point, these are the champs we're talking about.
Yes.
There are levels to this. The Magic are not on their level.
At all.
And in fact, I would argue this. I think as a first-round matchup, this is great for the champs because this is a young, hungry, tough team. One thing we've disrespected a lot of Magic players here, but one thing we haven't done is taken away from their toughness. They are a tough team.
100%.
So I think this is a good first-round matchup for the champs to get in there against a feisty group, that I don't believe is going to be intimidated by the Celtics. They're just not as good. They're just not on that level. So I think that's a good sort of warm-up here for the C's to go after Banner 19.
Yeah, you said it. I don't even need to say anything else. I got it all off my chest.
Want to hear all about Boston sports? Check out Nessun's daily sports podcast. Boston has entered the chat. You, too, can enter the conversation by tweeting at us using the hashtag NessunChat, or you can always email the chat at Nessun.com. Boston has entered the chat. Is available on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and wherever else podcasts are found. Legendary Celtic family to the program. Dee Brown joins us. Man, welcome back. It's so good to see you, my brother.
No, it's always good to be seen. So I'm never going to definitely complain about that. So, but thanks for having me back on the show. I appreciate you guys.
No doubt, man. We've been seeing you a lot in Celtic City. We'll get to that. But I want to start here.
Yeah,
you know, we're boys, D. So we tried to book you a while ago, and you say, hey, I have knee surgery. Let's move it to this.
Yeah,
so now you're on the mend after surgery. Surgery went well. Can you talk to us? Well, Ante probably knows more about this than I do as an athlete. But can you talk to regular guys like me and take my audience into what it's like post-playing career? You know, I'm sure you had to get knees cleaned up, and we were talking about off-camera bad feet and different injuries and things like that from your playing career. Just take us behind the curtain of what it's like post-playing career health-wise for you and other players.
Oh, I'm telling you, it's, you know, being a 90s player, you know, the game was a lot more physical and the technology wasn't as advanced as it is now. You know, we didn't have cryo chambers and, you know, we have one masseuse for one player for all the whole team. Vladimir, if anybody knows Vladimir in Boston, he was like the team masseuse for a long time. You know, travel was different. You know, my first year we flew commercial. You know, so it's just a lot different. You know, and then Larry said his back hurt, and then we got a plane. So that was how quick that changed. To get our charter plane, but it's just different, you know. And as you know, you get older, you're playing with your kids and on the court, things like that. You know, I had hip resurfacing done a couple years ago. I had some knee stuff done just to, just stay healthy. You know, be able to be on the court. My daughter Lexi, who plays in WNBA, my son who plays college basketball. So I always want to be involved with their training and development. So I got to make sure I get my yearly tune-up to make sure my body is good so I can go out there and perform and play. But it's a lot different. I mean, we talked about it, you know, earlier. You know, superstars in the past, they didn't play 12, past 12, 13 years. You know, you got guys playing 18, 20 years now. Oof. You know, we just your body just took a beating so much. And like I said, it's the technology to keep you healthy and the recovery stuff that they do now. We just have access to that stuff in the 90s. Yeah,
but I tell you what, D, I mean, the mentality's different too, because your era and before you, obviously, I mean, you played with immense pain. You played through pain. Nowadays, you know, guys, what I noticed, D, guys will tweak something. They're out for a month. So I feel like mentally, though, you know, not to sound like an old man here, D, but mentally, your generation and before you were tougher, right? Is that fair to say, or am I being a hater?
Yeah, I don't know.
Am I a hater, D?
I don't want to say I don't know if we're tougher. We had to listen. We had to deal with what it was. Right. That's what it was. Like that's what we have access to, and the rules were a little different back then with the injury reserve list and active and inactive list like they have now. You know, back then you got hurt and, you know, you had to go on the injury reserve list. You had to miss 5 games or 10 days, whatever came first. Right. The guys didn't want to do that because you never got your position back or you lost, you know, minutes or, you know, you didn't get a chance to play and they can keep you on that list as long as possible. So there's a lot of different mentality. So I don't say the guys are softer now. Injuries are injuries. Like, you know, I wish I had an instrument that can measure pain because everybody's pain tolerance is different. If we had that, that's different. You know, playing hurt, playing in pain is 2 different things, and some people can't tolerate a lot of pain. That's human nature. So I won't say guys are softer. I just think, you know, the way we had to deal with certain injuries to be able to keep playing and competing based on the technology and medical, you know, information we had is a lot different than they have now.
Now, Ante and I here on Hold My Banner talk about Celtic City all the time. And in the latest episode, D, you were prominent in this episode. And the last time you chopped it up with us, we talked about your late great friend and Reggie Lewis. And I remember you also shared with us a story of how you found out you were traded and all that. So, you know, it went into that in this episode, D. But one thing Ante and I, learned about you that we didn't know was a story you told that was horrific of basically a case of mistaken identity where the cops here in Boston rolled up on you and pulled out guns on you because they thought you robbed a bank For people who aren't watching the show or aren't privy to the story, can you take us back to that time? What the heck happened there, D?
Yeah, it was. I had just got drafted by the Celtics, and I was trying to find. It was like after the draft and the free agent camps and all those things like that. So it was a time where I was trying to find a place to live in the Boston area, and there's different neighborhoods. My wife was from Cambridge, so she knew about a lot of the areas up there and stuff like that. But it was, I was going to Wellesley. It was a nice area, obviously outside of Boston. And I was at a post office just trying to get my mail because I got my mail forwarded from Jacksonville from college to get my mail, pay my bills, just get ready for the season, getting ready to move to Boston. And I guess the bank that I was across the street from where the post office was, I got robbed a week or 2 weeks before I was there. And I think the story is that one of the tellers saw me walk into the post office and called the police and said that the person that robbed the bank a week ago, was across the street at the post office, and he's there. And that's how the police got dispatched. They thought I was the bank robber. I was in my car with a pen in my hand. They thought it was a gun. They told me to get out of the car, face down on the ground, put guns to my head, drop the gun. I said it's a pen. So it was very, I won't use traumatic, but it was, a situation where you want anybody to go through. And one of the reasons why, I felt that I won't use the word saved, but didn't get shot or, put in handcuffs and taken to a police station. A couple of fans walked by and said, "Hey, that's the guy that just got drafted by the Celtics a few months ago. That's not no bank robber." So I kind of got saved by true hardcore Celtics fans that knew who I was because I had just got drafted. And then, obviously I didn't get arrested. I didn't go to the police station. It's just kind of like, okay, mistaken identity. It was tough, and, the one thing that a couple things that did come out of it, I did move to Wellesley. And I still moved there after that. Loved my time there. It was a great city, great people, but a lot of things changed. I think the chief of police had to retire. The mayor. There was a lot of education on, racial biases in Wellesley and outskirt cities in Boston, and I didn't get any money from it. I didn't sue the city. To me, it was more about the education part of why does this happen, and people want to use Boston as a racist city, so that just gave them more fuel to use my experience to do that. And I never, from that day, I never felt threatened by anything in Boston, as far as people, being a racial insensitive to me or my family. I always go back. Hey, was it a mistaken identity? A black guy in Wellesley with the same type of outfit on that the bank robber had before, and the lady just being nervous and cautious. I never met the teller. I didn't know who she was. I didn't know if she was black, white, whatever nationality she was. So I have no clue. Her racial biases might have came in from being robbed or her traumas as well. So, being 21 years old and being away from home for the first time, yeah, it's a tough situation. But again, I still have family in Boston. My wife's from Cambridge. My oldest daughter, Lexi's born in Boston. So I have a very, very big heart for the city of Boston, the things they've done for me and my family.
Yeah, and I've been through some similar things, not to that extent, you know what I mean? But I think, being a black man in America, sometimes we all have experiences like that. And when I went through it, I was even like in the city that I was in, I was like, I don't want to ever come back here. I don't want to ever stay here. Right. What kind of was your mentality? Because you decided to stay. You talked about how you decided to move to Wesley, and then you thrived. You went on to have a great career, a great run with Boston, all the great things that you did. Yeah. What was your mentality going into that situation and the decision to stay?
I don't let a few bad decisions from people that are maybe not educated on education, black people, different people with different backgrounds to influence my decision on where I want to live or where I want to be. And I had Robert Parrish had a basketball camp in Wellesley at Brandeis. at Babson College. So we did a lot of stuff in the community. It wasn't like I lived there and just kind of stayed in my house. I was always in the Wellesley community, from doing different camps or community events, doing things for the city. So my mindset was like, this is where I want to live, and I thought it was a beautiful neighborhood. It was easy. It was close to get to practice, because at that time we were practicing at Hellenic College in Brookline. Then we moved to Brandeis College when I was there. So, for me, I had the right to live where I wanted to live. And like I said, after the incident, I never had any problems, issues with people, my neighbors, people that came to my basketball camp while I was in Boston.
Yeah, you brought up Robert Parrish there. How much did you guys at that time talk to those older, black players that played for the Celtics, like him and Bill Russell, about racial relations or race relations in Boston before or during your time while you were here?
I talk to them all the time. Again, I had to lean on lack of knowledge of the area because it's a new area for me. No matter where you move, if it's L.A., Chicago, New York, you got to know whatever color or race you are, where not to go for certain neighborhoods. That's just being cautious and smart. And I talked to Robert a lot. I talked to Dennis Johnson a lot, who passed away. The DJ was a guy that I would lean on as well. Guys like Reggie, Reggie would let me know because he was there a couple years before, and he went to Northeastern, so he knew Boston. And he would tell me all the time, like, listen, he loved Boston, so I love Boston. So, when you hear from people that came before you, and not saying they didn't have any issues or nothing happened to them, for whatever reason it was, it didn't affect my influence on the way I felt about the city of Boston.
No doubt. Another thing Celtic City did a great job of is telling the Rick Pitino story, the saga. And you and I, you've already shared with me and Ante and our audience about how you learned, how you got traded and all that. But I just wonder now, because Ante and I have met the older, mature Dee Brown, right? So I wonder now, as you kind of look back and reflect, Dee, what do you remember from that time? What did you sort of learn from that Rick Pitino saga? And by the way, not retiring a Celtic, because we all feel like you should have retired a Celtic. 100%. What did you kind of learn from that? Did you really maybe learn the true business side of sports maybe?
Well, I learned it quick. Oh, you learned it real quick. And like you say, when you feel like you're going to be in an organization for your whole career, especially the things that I went through, bookend between Laney Bice's passing away, the big three retiring, Reggie passing away, and then drafting Antoine and Paul. I was the glue gatekeeper of the Celtics between those eras. So you would feel like, what, when things start getting good again and we start building up, and you want to be a part of it, you want to be part of the uptick. The Celtics, and I didn't have the opportunity to do that because I got traded. And you learn about the business part. It's business. It's never personal. But you talk about the Rick Pitino part. Some of it was personal. And I think I explained that on the show that it was no former Celtics. No, we don't want any of the old history around. I want to dismiss that history of the Celtics. This is a new generation. We don't want to tie together. And that was the only personal part that I took. And I took it because I was, there for a long time. I was there in the old Boston Garden. I was there with Red Auerbach. I was there with, obviously the big three. I was there with the transition to the new arena, different players I played with. So, you learn that real quick that, as much as you want to be somewhere, there's certain things you don't have any control over when people want to make decisions on your career. And, you got to, buck up, be disappointed. I was very disappointed. I'm not even going to lie about that. I think I stated it on the show. I was very hurt that I got traded, and not because I wasn't valued in Toronto, because that's who wanted me and that's who traded for me. I felt hurt because how it went down, and I knew that I did so much for the organization. Your payback at the end is kind of like, okay, we're just going to push you off and dismiss you, and hopefully everything will be fine in the future. And that's the part that bothers you the most.
The NFL draft is under a week away, so what do the Patriots do with the 4th overall pick? Tune in to Foxborough Rush on the Clock, a live 2-hour NFL draft special during the first round on Thursday night. Kicking off at 8 p.m. on Nesson Nation and on Nesson's YouTube. George Bilecki, Travis Thomas, and plenty of guests will watch the draft with you, breaking down every pick and diving into the Patriots' first overall selection.
Yeah, look, we're not going to spoil too much of the episode. You got to go check it out. I want to say, though, D, I appreciate what you're sharing with us now, what you shared in that episode.
Yes.
For me, not being bored for most of your Celtics career, I didn't get to learn about any of this stuff until, watching this episode and really hearing about the Celtics and everything that you guys were going through the 90s. But now I need to talk to you about the current Celtics. So thank you for that. I got to talk to you about the current Celtics.
Yeah.
Look,
yes.
They're playing the Magic, a team that you used to play for as well.
That's right.
Travis and I love Paolo Banchero, but I'm not sure if he's enough to get over the hump. People are saying, upset. I don't really see it that way. Yeah. They have a great defense, but they're still a young team trying to figure it out.
Yep.
Who do you think is walking out? I already know who you think is going to walk out of the series. It's going to be quick work,
know the answer.
But can you just give us a little bit of your thoughts of how this series is going to play out?
I don't want to disrespect Orlando sweep because I think they do have a really good defense. They have young pieces. I think Jamal Mosley, who's done a great job as a coach there in Orlando. I live in Florida, so I get to hear a lot of the things that they're doing down in Orlando. And I'll go down to a few games and visit people down there and see the team. So they have a great defense. But you're playing against the defending champions who still nobody is talking about. They're talking about OKC. They talk about LeBron and Luka. They talk about, the young Cleveland Cavaliers, but it's somehow Boston kind of gets pushed in the background. Like, you know what? If they make it, they should. If they don't, it's a disappointment. So, they're put on a pedestal to be knocked down. I still don't think Jason gets to do what he's supposed to get. I think they're undervaluing how important a person like Jalen is to be that 1B or 1A, how you ever want to look at on that team, with all the pieces. And to me, it's all about health. If they're healthy, nobody can beat them in 7 games, a 7-game series. I just believe that. And they've shown it. They've done it. They did it last year. They've done things this year that's broken records with the 3-point shots, with the things they do on offense. And again, I would never say that any team should be swept. But the Boston Celtics, if they go out that same mentality they did last year of trying to prove, and I think it's funny. I think this year they have more to prove than they did last year, because people are writing them off as they can't do it back to back, and they have a better team and more experience than they had last year. And so I feel like again, disrespect, unappreciated, whatever word you want to use. I think. Going even back to the summer with USA Basketball, I think Jason has a chip or a something to get off his chest with this playoff series as well. So I'm looking forward to seeing that happen.
D, I completely agree. I mean, you stop me if I'm wrong, but I think all great teams and certainly great players are pissed off. They have something that ticked them off. And they're out here looking for revenge. So I agree. And in fact, in the media and certainly as fans, we want to see that from this team. Sometimes this team, D, doesn't have a mean streak to them. So if in this repeat bid for Banner 19, if they can be angry going in playoffs, that's a good thing, right? Don't you think great teams and great players sort of have that in their DNA?
You need. Over 82 games, you lose motivation. That's just honest. You have your ups and downs, your ebbs and flows of the season. It's a new season for everybody that's going to the playoffs, and you always need something to, is a bulletin board material. If it's just people saying things, if it's all the critics on the different platforms saying different things, you use whatever you need to use to get ready to win 16 games. That's all you got to do. You got to win 16 games.
Yeah.
And you win 16 games, you're the champion. It ain't that hard to figure out. And that's what you need to do. Whatever it is, you do it. And teams do different things. Doc Rivers and that. The team they won with Garnett, they had the the different chance they had to get them prepared for it. The last year's team, these people just kind of wrote them off and saying that they're not good enough, they're not ready. They keep getting to this promised land and falling short, and then they get over the hump, and it's like, well, what you gonna do next year? Well, this is next year, and I just see them using that as motivation. And I don't think they need it to win the championship. It just helps fuel the fire for them. And I think for Jason to not be mentioned in MVP conversations,
man, talk about
not right.
Yeah, it's
not right. I mean, again, you can put numbers. Listen, Shea and Jokic and Giannis having great years, but the things that Jason has done this year with the guys in and out the lineup.
Yeah.
From Porzingis or Derek White or Drew Holiday or Jalen, and he's still there, and they won 60 games.
Yep.
So again, you can pick and choose plot lines or storylines to get them motivated. I just think they're motivated because they want to be a repeat champion.
Okay, well, look, let's talk about this because you look at the Eastern Conference. Obviously, the Cavs are right there. Knicks, they haven't beat anyone elite all year. I don't know if they're going to do it in the playoffs, but they're there. You have the Pacers. You have Giannis. You mentioned tough Pistons team. As you sort of look at the Eastern Conference, which one of those teams, or is there more than one, that you think can at least push this Celtics team into a 6 or 7 game series?
I mean, I think Cleveland has shown they can beat the Celtics. This is not the NCAA tournament. It's not a one and done.
Right.
You got to beat team 7 times. You got to beat team, 4 times.
Right.
I don't see a team in the East beating them 4 times. That's the thing in a 7-game series. You might win. You might pull off 2. You might take it to game 7, but just to beat them 4 times, even though they don't have home court advantage against Cleveland, they have it against everybody else, and they arguably are the best road team. They could have broke the road record for the most wins in a season.
Right.
So having them not having a home court advantage doesn't affect them. They can win on the road. So with those factors coming in where they have home court advantage versus everybody in the East other than Cleveland, and they're the best road team in the league, not just Eastern Conference, in the league, them going on the road and still in the game is not going to phase them. Them losing the game at home and have to come back and bounce back and win the game on the road, it's not going to phase them. So Cleveland, because they've shown they can beat them, but everybody else, like you said, the Knicks, Milwaukee, if Dame's not healthy, Detroit, who's young and up and coming, who I still think they're you're maybe a year or 2 away from pushing these veteran teams that's been in the playoffs along. So I don't want to say none, but there's teams that can take a game or 2 from them, but not win 4 games.
Yeah, there's no one that can win 4 games. I can already tell you how I feel about it.
That's just being honest. That's
being honest. That's being real.
They lost 3 games all playoffs last year.
Right.
So you're already right about that. And I think this team is, even better this year, even more confident rolling into the playoffs. Let's talk about the West. Travis is a huge fan of the Rockets out west. I like the Thunder making it out. But who do you see kind of getting through that tough Western Conference, as we know it is, to face the Celtics in the finals?
Oh, man, that's a tough one because the West, the way it's going, it's going to be a lot of good teams knocked out early. I mean, you've got Denver playing the Clippers, and the Clippers have shown signs of what everybody thought they were going to be, with Kawhi being healthy and Harden playing and the guys like Zubac and those other guys, the role players playing well. And Denver, they still got Jokic. I think they've got something to prove because everybody was very, very surprised like I was with Mike Malone being fired. I was on that staff when Mike Malone first got the job. And we drafted Jokic and things like that. So I was part of that staff when we was there for a couple years. The first year we drafted Jokic and Moutier and all those guys. So I know what kind of coach he is, and he's a great coach. Very fiery, very upfront and honest. So I think Denver is going to show something that I don't think people's ready for because, they've got, David Alleman, who's a great young coach. I mean, he's got a coaching pedigree. His dad, obviously, Rick Alleman was a great coach in this league as well. So I don't dismiss Denver because they do have a guy in Jokic that can win games because he can play. Lakers with Luka. They've obviously got a boost and a boost of adrenaline going into the playoffs with those two guys. I just think it's going to be a lot of knockouts early. Houston, and you talked about Houston. Ime brings a identity they didn't have before. He brings a toughness. He brings a swag.
Yep.
And you can see the way they players play. They play with they all play like Dylan Brooks and Jalen Green. They just have that toughness to them that I think that might be able to steal a few games from good teams. I don't know if they're ready to get over the hump yet. I mean, the West is so hard to call because OKC is the best team. They've been the best team for 2 years.
Yeah,
and they're young. It's tough. I'm hard pressed to say OKC's not that team just because they've shown it all year. They've shown it for 2 years. They're talented. But you got these veteran teams out there that could catch lightning in a bottle like the Clippers or the Lakers.
Steph, Warriors.
Steph, they found themselves, But again, the Warriors, they got to go through Houston, which is going to be tough.
Yeah.
They're going to be tough because they're built to be as physical versus Steph and that team as any team in the Western Conference. So we'll see. But I'm gonna go with OKC just because it's a novelty pick. Because I think a lot of these other teams are going to knock themselves out before OKC gets a chance to see them.
Right.
Okay, D. Talk about the West. I hear you. Make these cases for all these teams. You talk about the East. You weren't that impressed. It just sounds like a repeat bid to me, my friend. So I want you to talk that talk, D. I'm sick of you being so humble. Tell me. Give me the path, baby. How many games? Banner 19. How many games? Who's MVP? Lay it out for me. I need all your predictions, D. Talk that talk, baby.
Oh, my goodness. Oh, gosh, man. You put me on the spot on that. Listen, I'm always going with the Celtics.
All right.
I'm going to say I'm going to go with the Celtics for championship, I think. Jason Tatum's going to be MVP. I'm going. I don't know. To me, that's not going out on a limb. That's. I'm not saying Peyton Pritchard's going to be MVP.
It should be obvious.
Right. It should be obvious.
Yeah, not a shot at Peyton Pritchard because he should win Sixth Man of the Year.
He will.
No question. If he doesn't win it, that's bad.
They got to start taking people's votes away if he doesn't win it.
He will. He will.
Right. So I'm going with them 4 games. I'm going against OKC. I'm saying OKC.
All right.
And again, OKC's got home court, so I'm gonna say Celtics in 6.
Woo! There it is, baby. Woo! Let's go, D Brown.
Banner 19.
Banner 19.
Yeah, man. All right, look, D. Before we let you go, I got to ask you one question because you brought up Mike Malone, and it got me thinking. You've seen a couple coaches get fired during your playing career, but we've seen like recent NBA champions, recent coaches of the year, overall playoff team coaches getting fired.
Right.
How do you think this sort of heightened expectations of coaches have affected the development of the league and the players?
Well, here's the first thing. If you're a new coach, don't be named Mike, because every coach that got fired, they was
right. 3 of
Mike.
Budenholzer, Brown, Malone.
So don't be Mike. Don't hire Mike. So if your name is Mike, don't apply. So that's the first thing. Next thing is it's tough. I mean, it's people want to say it's a players' league, and owners, these new owners that got all this money and to come in and purchase these teams and want instant success and want to buy a roster. It doesn't work that way. It's tough, and the old saying's been around for years: you can't fire the team. You can't fire the team. So the first person you get rid of is a coach, and then next thing that person goes is the person that put the team together, the GM. So you saw GMs are getting fired. You saw Griffin get fired in New Orleans, Monty McNair in Sacramento. So there's a lot of movement going on. And who's that next coach you go get? You recycle coaches that just got fired. because they didn't do a bad job. They just was in the wrong situation, and the owner wanted to make a change and and make a statement. So it's tough. It's tough. I mean, the funny thing about it all is, these coaches, they get fired and they're getting paid for like 2 or 3 teams.
Right.
Like Budenholzer is getting paid for like 2 teams. Monty Williams getting paid, from 2 teams, and there's a lot of money out there, and these owners are making these hard decisions on either roster composition that's bad, so I got to fire the GM, or we didn't expectations to the type of team we had, we thought we were going to be better, so I got to fire the coach. What's the criteria anymore to keep your job? Is it championships? That's not it anymore. Right. Is it developing young players? That's not it anymore. Right. It's basically how that owner's feeling that day, the response they're getting from their fan base, or the disgruntled players they have, whatever that is, a combination of all 3. So there's no criteria of why a great coach or coaches get fired. Especially like the last 2 coaches that got fired, from Mike Malone and Taylor Jenkins from Memphis. Your team's in the playoffs. Your team is is not losing games. Right. You have a chance to still win a championship, and you still got fired. So there's no criteria. This is the new NBA of with coaches where you can be in 1 year, win coach of the year, and the next year be out.
Right, man. That's so true. D, man, you know how we feel about you, man. We appreciate you. We salute you. We thank you for believing in us. We don't know why you love us, but we're so glad you do, man. Whenever we call you, you always hold us down, D, man. We appreciate you.
No, appreciate you guys. I appreciate you guys having me. Great conversations, great shows. Keep doing your thing.
Thank you, D. We'll see you soon, brother.
Thanks, D.
All right, appreciate you guys.
From Simone Biles to Caitlin Clark to all the top stories in sports, we've got you covered on Nesson's Women in Sports podcast, Respect Her Game. You can find it on YouTube, Spotify, Apple, Amazon, and wherever else you get your podcast. All right, Tay, let's go out west. Lakers, Timberwolves, 3 seed versus 6 seed. A rematch of the 2004 series. Who even remembers that? Who you got in this one?
It's going to be really easy.
Okay.
Really, really easy.
Really easy?
Yeah. AE, Brady. Hee. Lakers in 6, dog.
Yo, what's wrong with you, dog?
Shout out Shannon Sharp.
Why am I friends with you?
Lakers in 6, dog. That's how I'm rolling with
no,
this.
he would say Lakers in 5.
Yeah, he would say 5.
He would say 5. You going 6.
5, but I'm going 6. And the reason I'm going 6 is because, yes, this Timberwolves team has been getting better in the second half of the season. They finally figured out how Anthony Edwards fits with Julius Randle. But my whole thing about this Lakers team and this Timberwolves team is, who is Mike Conley guarding? We talk about the defensive issues that the Lakers had. I don't even need to get into it. They don't have a real big. No offense to Jackson. Actually, you know what? Offense to Jackson Hayes. He's not a great person. So offense to Jackson Hayes. They don't have a real center, and we know the issues with that. But the fact is, Mike Conley is a 6'2" aging guard.
Yes.
And he's going to either have to guard Luka or and Austin Reeves?
No.
That's not happening.
It's not going to go well.
That's not going to go well. There's going to be the game where Ant does his thing. There's going to be a game. And also,
might be a couple.
Forget just Ant. Go look at Julius Randle's playoffs numbers. They're atrocious.
Yeah.
He has not had a good playoff series ever. Ever as an NBA player.
Right.
So I'm not trusting him. I'm not trusting Rudy Gobert, who's had issues guarding in the perimeter against a perimeter-heavy team who's going to have to play small ball, because I already told you Jackson Hayes is not a good center and won't be playing more than 25 minutes a game. They're going to play small ball, which means Rudy Gobert is going to be out the lineup for the Timberwolves, which takes away a lot of the good things that they do. This is going to be a hard-pressed opportunity for the Timberwolves, but I'm giving them a lot of respect because I like Jaden McDaniels and what he can do. I think Dante DiVincenzo is going to do a lot of great things, and AE is AE. He's box office. So they will get 2 games, but no more than that.
I agree with you. This will be a very entertaining series. I'm just interested in Ant Edwards and the LeBron back and forth. I think there's going to be a lot of jawing, a lot of trash talk, a lot of this is my time kind of stuff. Remember when Giannis took the crown from LeBron and did all that? I can see Anthony Edwards kind of doing that
Mimicking
kind of
some
stuff.
of that stuff.
Yeah, just antics. Like theatrics, right?
The antics.
But in the end, you're right. I think Lakers in 6 here. This is a great matchup for the Lakers. I'm priming myself or trying to mentally prepare. I could just see this Lakers team going on a run. And I don't believe in them in terms of winning a title.
Yeah.
You know, if they make it to the finals, which is a big if they make it to the finals, they would get absolutely demolished by the Celtics. So don't get me wrong here.
Well,
but I wouldn't be shocked to see a Lakers deep playoff run. I think it begins here.
Yeah, I mean, they would have to beat one of the two teams that we're going to talk about later.
They would have to beat Steph or the Rockets, right?
So,
they get the winner of that.
Which are two teams that we've been, I've been high on the Warriors, since the Jimmy Butler.
You have.
They've kind of continuously shown me that they're a real team. At first, I was like, I don't know about
this. And I'm Mr. Rocket.
But I did tell you, I remember telling you that team would work. We'll talk about the Warriors in a second.
You did.
But, that's why I have a little bit more of an issue of seeing the Lakers making the run.
Okay.
But I'm giving them this series. I just don't think that Anthony Edwards has enough.
Listen, bro, you're not predicting the Lakers going a deep run, but I don't think you'd be shocked. If you told me...
I wouldn't be shocked. You're right.
Yeah, like if you told me the Lakers beat Steph and Jimmy in 6 or 7 games or the young Rockets, I wouldn't be shocked at all. I guess my point is from a first-round matchup standpoint, this is win for the Lakers. This is beneficial to the Lakers. I think this is a good first-round matchup for them.
I think you're giving them a little bit of a discredit to the Timberwolves. I think the Timberwolves are a lot better than what you're thinking in your head.
That's
I said
fair.
2 games. 2 games is a good, they're going to compete.
Yes.
They're going to be in a lot of these games. They're just going to lose out because Luka and LeBron are just better than Anthony Edwards and Julius Randle. It's that simple case. When you have 2 of the best players in the world facing off against one of the best players in the world and a guy who falls off in the playoffs, I'm going to take the 2 best players in the world.
Fair enough.
2 of the better.
Knicks and Pistons back in the East. Knicks are 3 seed, Pistons the 6. Now, you've been all over this Pistons teams all season long. Kudos to you. Are you taking them here on Take Campbell? There's my answer. Thank you and good night, everyone.
Yeah, I'm not taking them here. Look, here's the thing. No OG Anunoby in this game, in this first game, game 1. No Isaiah Stewart for the Pistons in this first game, game 1. So 2 big parts of what these teams do are missing out in this first game. But the issue that I have with the Pistons is experience. This is one of those teams that is young, that lacks playoff experience. They have some guys that have came in, Tobias Harris, Malik Beasley, who do have playoff experience, but I don't know if that's going to be enough. There's always the question of, can you make shots? Cade has been able to make shots, but the guys around them have been wishy-washy at times. Even Malik Beasley in the playoffs, even Tobias Harris in the playoffs have been wishy-washy at times. So we got to see if this young team is ready to make shots. Look, the Pistons are 3-1 against the Knicks in the regular season. So it's not like I'm saying that they don't have a shot at all, but I'm going to go Knicks in 7 in this series.
Well, listen, we're not too far off, but we're far off. We both like 7. I'm taking the Pistons.
Whoa.
I'm going upset here. You know why?
Whoa.
Have you noticed how quiet, meek, humble Knicks fans have been? And I understand why. They haven't beat anyone good. They haven't beat anyone elite.
Right.
Anytime they play the high-end team, I'm not saying the Pistons are, but I'm just saying the high-end teams, they lose. I think it's taken a lot of air, not only out of the fan base, but quite frankly, I don't like the confidence level of this Knicks basketball team in totality.
Okay.
I do not believe this team believes in itself.
Wow.
And I think this is a terrible matchup for them. To go against a young, all the reasons you're picking the Knicks in this, and the Pistons are young and they're still. I actually think that's beneficial to the Pistons. I think because they are young, because they are inexperienced, because they're kind of new to this, they're just going to come in, play with house money. They are a tough. We talked about the Magic. This team is the Magic on steroids. I mean, defense, toughness. They kind of play like old school Pistons a little bit. Cade Cunningham's ridiculous. I like the Pistons here. I think the Pistons will upset the Knicks. I think this goes 7, and it'll be great basketball. I'm taking the Pistons in the upset here.
Yeah, I can't see it that way. And the reason that I can't see it that way is because you still got to remember who Jalen Brunson is when the playoffs come.
Yeah.
You still got to remember how Cat feels about every single early exit that he's had as a Timberwolf. He's coming in with a vengeance. He wants to win.
Soft.
This is a team that has
Soft.
Okay. And
Soft.
Stop it, man. You're not going to do him like that, all right? Anyways, it's not like this team is going to, Jalen Duren's going to punk him? Jalen Duren's going to punk him?
I think collectively, let me say this, definitively. I think collectively the Pistons will punk the Knicks.
I think this is the one time where Knicks fans are going to be wrong about their team, but happy that they are wrong. Because you're right. They've always been the team that's always loud and the fan base that's rabid.
I'm like, they don't even believe in this team.
But guess what? Throughout history, every time they were loud about their team, guess what? They were wrong.
Facts.
And they've always been wrong. Sorry, Knicks fans, but you've always been wrong.
Facts.
And in this situation, if you don't believe in your team to at least get through this round, then you're wrong. And I think that the health that I talked about in last episode for this team is going to be the reason that they end up making it through this playoffs. Last year, the only reason that they didn't give the teams that they face in the playoffs more of a run was health. I said OG Anunoby's out, but it's a day-to-day injury. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, he'll be back.
He'll be back. He'll probably play game 2.
Yep.
This team has been healthy, and when they're healthy, they play really good basketball against teams who shouldn't beat them. This is one of those situations where they're playing a team that shouldn't beat them, and I think they're going to walk out of it, not unscathed, but in 7.
Okay. Now let's get to a series that has me scared shackless. My Rockets, the 2 seed out west, who have worked so hard to become the 2 seed. Congratulations, you get Steph in the first round. I don't know what to do here. I'm in a glass case of emotion. I'm sticking with my Rockets, but I've told you from the beginning, please, I want no parts of Steph Curry. It's not even the Warriors. It's not even Jimmy. It's not even Draymond. It's not even Steve Kerr. It's him. It's Mr. Night himself. I am terrified. But Rockets, H-Town, I'm rolling with you, but damn it, man. We couldn't get the Clippers or somebody. Somebody, you got to get Steph. Lord have mercy.
Say it with your chest. I need a game prediction, a series prediction. How many games? What are we talking about?
I don't know. I don't know.
I don't want to hear all the moaning and groaning now. You bet on the Rockets to make it to the finals.
This was before they played Steph.
You were, Ante, you're wrong. This Rockets team is legit.
Can we get the Nuggets or something?
They're legit. You know what I'm saying? I told you that they're not making it out of the first round.
Bro, I'd rather go against Jokic.
No, I don't.
I'd rather go against Luka.
I don't care who you would.
I don't want Steph.
I don't care. You got Steph. So how many games are your Houston Rockets winning this series in, since they're winning?
7.
No. Say it with your chest.
It's going 7.
Look, I've heard you yell. You yell every day. I can't hear you.
It's going 7 games.
Okay, so let me dispel everything that you are talking about.
What do you mean dispel?
First of all,
I am emotional.
Wardell, Stephen Curry has never lost. Never lost. Shout out LeVar Ball. Never lost to the Rockets in the playoffs. He's 4-0.
You got me stressed out, man.
Second of all,
somebody bring me a cigarette.
Second of all, we're going to have to, you know how they call Toronto LeBronto because of what he used to do to DeMar DeRozan?
Don't do this.
We're going to call Houston. I'm going to sound like Glorilla. Shout out Memphis for losing that game to Houston.
Why is there an R in
Houston for Curry? Houston. Because it's his town
I don't
now.
like this, man.
He's finna walk in Houston and take y'all hearts in 6 games.
Oh, come on.
6 games. The Warriors are 3-2 against the Rockets this year. Everyone's saying, oh, well, Steph got locked up. He had 3 points. Da-da-da-da-da. You don't think he's hearing that? He's a petty king, too. This is a 4-time NBA champion that we're talking about here. 4. And you think he's worried about some children?
I mean, if we're being fair, you heard Dee Brown say it. The Rockets are uniquely built to physically push around the Warriors. So
I don't care what Dee Brown said. You see this logo right here? This logo knows championships. Most in the league. And me, I'm wearing the logo. So that means I get the energy put through my body that understands what championship pedigree is. And guess what? The Rockets don't have it, dog. Steph. Like you said, forget Warriors.
I know.
Forget Kerr, all of that.
None of that matters. It's Steph.
Steph in 6.
I can't. I just want to argue so bad. All I've done with you all season is argue for my Rockets. Mm-hmm. And here we are, and I'm not turning my back on them, but I'm like this.
Hey, and look.
It's not full back, but they get inside, bro. Look. That's how I'm looking at it. When Steph walking, I'm like this.
Hey, you better not look him in the eye. You better not look him in the eye. That's all I'm going to say.
Turn into stone.
He's a killer now. You know what I'm saying? Here's the thing, Travis. I can't wait because I'm going to laugh a big belly laugh.
I know
when this
you are.
series is over. And I told you and all those Rocket fans, I can't wait until they come into the comments. And I don't want to hear no excuses.
Nah.
Oh, we should have played Memphis. Or, oh, we should have played this team. And
I know.
Ruined a beat.
But
nothing.
There's a flip side to this coin. Boy, if they take Steph out these playoffs, hey, I tell you what, if the Rockets win this series, I'm going to cash that ticket, dog. They going to finals.
They're
going to finals.
No. If the Rockets win this series and they end up having to face the Lakers as we think they're going to have to face, and they got to deal with LeBron James,
they beating them.
And Luka Doncic.
Look at this.
You better, whatever the buyout is, you better accept that. I don't care if it's $1 more than what you spent. You better accept
this
it.
What they're gonna. But Steph is the problem. Steph's the problem. Let's deal with Steph first. Hey, you know what? The playoffs are here. The quest for banner 19 is on, baby, and we're with you every step of the way. For Travis Thomas and Ante Campbell, hold my banner. Till next time, peace.
Deuces.